We have the amazing Azara in the house. Welcome, Azara.
Hi. Hi, Ella. Hi, everyone.
Hi, hi. It's such a pleasure to bring Azara into any space. I've been working with Azara actually since 2016, but we met in 2012 for the opening ceremony of the Olympics, which was a pleasure. And we've had many kind of crossings of paths in life. We still can't believe that we didn't meet each other.
I think, we've been talking about how and when we could have really connected, and the beauty of when we did actually find each other was the right time in the right space so that we could really understand, because we were so connected, like, or distantly connected with the dance world and new people through people, but we had never actually had time to understand who we are, what art is for each other, and how we could connect as artists. So yeah, it's beautiful that we had that time.
Truth right there. So we're going to dive into the world of Azara. Azara is an amazing artist. I would love to start, Azara, just with your story of how you got into dance, how you got into breaking, especially how it began.
So I guess I'm going to take it right back to the beginning, where my sister was the first person who taught me any kind of dance moves. So she taught me how to butterfly, she taught me how to bogle, she taught me how to brockwine, and that was at 3. So in her room, I was on her floor, just like whining and just like getting down butterfly, doing all them things.
Your sister?
How old's my sister?
At the time, how old was she?
So she would have been like 13, 14.
Love it.
So, and it's them ones where like she's playing those Genuine Pony, and my mum's telling her, turn it off, that nasty music, all of them things, because it was them classics. But yeah, I'll be there, been doing my little dances, doing all the things. She was basically my first introduction of teaching me how to move my body. And then from there, I guess I went in to do gymnastics. And that's also where I kind of learned how to use my strength, I guess, build my strength and use that. My favorite element was the floor. I loved being on the floor. Like, that was where I got to have my little wiggle or my little whatever I could do, my body wave. Pardon?
I did it as well, and I loved it. Like, yeah, place to get rid of all your energy.
Exactly, because the beam was everything else was too pressured and too precise, whereas the floor, I could add my own little flavor. And from there, I went into doing stage school, which was jazz, musical, theatre, good stuff, but like not quite where I felt the unlocking. And I guess in between that time, when I was at primary school, I did a lot of when you go to friends' birthdays, and there was a lot of little dance competitions. So you go to their party, and you'd have like musical chairs, or you'd have musical bumps, and then you just have a dancing competition. Just started used to be dancing competitions, and I used to be there shocking out. I was be like, yeah, doing my little 2-step. Back in the day, I was doing Bussing the Scroochie, I was doing Log On, and then I was doing my butterfly, I was doing my wine, and I used to win. I used to get pounds. I used to win pounds. Sometimes I win £2. I was like, yes, my piggy bank was so full. It was nice. But yeah, that was, I think, a really nice freedom that I had with dancing. And, it was a true place where, okay, now I can shine. Now I can just be myself. Everyone, because in the dancing competitions as well, because you are competing, you're not dancing in a partner or a group or a collaborative. It's your time to shine, and it was okay to like take that place and take that, stand your ground and take that space. It was really good. So I really just thrived in those moments. And so I guess when I went to like do musical theatre, it was okay. It was kind of getting there, but it still wasn't that dance, that freedom. It was still within parameters of having ballet or technique or, that kind of background. And then at school, when I was at secondary school, Independence came to my school and did a project, and that's where I got in my first introduction into hip hop, where I was taught locking by Yami, aka Rowdy.
Who we did it with. I love this small world.
Yeah, so that was my first teacher of hip hop, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. We did a big showcase. I was in it to win it, and then through that showcase, then Independence and Be Supreme, I stayed connected with them. We formed a company. Well, they formed a company called Stylinquents, which I was a part of, and I guess from there I kind of stuck with hip hop, and so I learned various styles. I learned popping, locking, crump, house, breaking, and I guess all of those styles were amazing. And then just new style at the time, which is just basically commercial hip hop. It was amazing because I got such a spectrum working with Clara, Clara. Clara Di Paris at the time, from In the House, and then Malcolm, Super Malcolm. Who else did I work with? Worked with Kenrick, I worked with Skittles, I worked with international artists, met Rockefeller, met...
for Rockefeller, the first person in the video as well.
I know, and meeting people like B-Girl Bubbles as well. And Miss Yellett's choreographers, I think that was quite, from the classic partner routines that you see from like Get Your Freak On, all of them ones. Wow. Meeting those two was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. So that was my introduction and understanding that, wow, there's these powerful women that just don't care. Like, they were just doing their thing. And then I guess going into the breaking, when I found Sun, who has been my breaking teacher for many years, it was like really, really empowering because she really showcased to me that there is a spectrum of what it means to be a woman and how you express yourself. And breaking is an epitome of freedom, and that, it is beautiful to be powerful. It is beautiful to be strong. It is beautiful to claim your space on the floor in whatever shape or form that means and appears to you. And I think that's what I really felt, because going or looking at the kind of commercial industry at the time, and I think there is still elements of it now, there is a very sexualized image of women and a perception that how women should be. And I didn't feel like I fitted into that. I didn't feel I wanted to express myself in that way. Whereas when I went into breaking, I felt like there wasn't a role or an image that I had to be to enter into that space. I felt like I could just present myself, and that was okay. And I was able, it was reflected back to me by the diversity that was around in that scene and the freedom that was in that scene. Everybody has their unique style. You all have your foundations, but it's you and your freedom to put your own spin and your flavor onto what that is. And I felt that that was my kind of definition of myself as a woman. I am a woman and this is who I am, but it is me, and I'm free to put whatever textures and feelings and understandings of what that is and express that to everybody else. So
beautiful. And I love like you as a dancer. So Azara was also in Ladylike, which we toured around the UK. We did some amazing shows, and like I love your versatility, but also how you kind of, it feels like you do have this real ability to tell stories with your body, to shine on the stage. There was kind of elements, well, we worked with a lot of Afro-Cuban movement, but it really felt like you just connected with that style of moving as well as having your background in breaking.
Yeah, I think there is a huge, and I'm still exploring it now. It's still questions and a place and experience that I want to dissect more and understand further about the roots inside me. That the African roots and my ancestry and that connection to music and how it transpires in my body. Is that the right word? Yes, I think it is how it transpires, how it transforms, should I say, even in my body to movement. Because I feel there is a very distinct impulse and freedom when it comes to those types of movement. There is a naturalness that is hard to explain, to understand, and there is also something that's quite compelling as well. It feels like it resonates on a soul level, like something more than I can quite explain. I feel like there is a vessel connection. And I think that's, pardon?
I feel you, and I know what you're saying. Yeah, I totally connect to that.
Yeah, and I really want to explore that more. I actually want to do a bit more traveling and go back to the motherland and search all around. I think my dad has done some ancestry and potentially found that he's related back to Nigeria, quite strong roots in Nigeria. So I would definitely go there, but I want to go around all Africa because I think, especially now with this surge in Afro dance becoming a lot more mainstream and a lot more accepted and viewed as the in thing to do. I want to explore it, not for to be a part of the hype, but I think what I do appreciate and love, because my heritage is Jamaican, so I very much understand, like, back in the day, everyone was busting out dancehall. Do you know what I mean? It's the waves and how music has progressed. I mean, obviously, a lot. If you listen to dancehall and you listen to Afro beats, they're very similar at times. Sometimes it's very hard to distinct because obviously our roots are from Africa. So, but I understand the hypes of the dance moves and that freedom. And I want to go back to those roots because I want to go back to those days when I was a child and I was dancing in those dance competitions and there was that freedom and I was able to take that space. And I feel like I'm really I want to go back to my roots and understand that method, that process of taking that space and that freedom and being in a space where everyone will celebrate that and it's celebrated to enjoy and see your beauty shine, radiate right there in front of you and share it amongst people who, it's just who understand that connection to music on a different level. To explore that more. I think there's a lot more depth to this, and I'm trying to figure it out as I'm talking. But yeah, the main thing is like exploring the movement for myself, so I can reconnect to the freedom of just hearing music and dancing and letting go. I feel that as you get older, more fears, more pressures, more doubts, more questions, confusion, more impressions come into your life. And especially I guess also with dancing as well, there is a lot of pressure to be a certain or perform or to do certain things and to take that space in a certain way. And which is understandable because that's why we perform. We like to share. But I think there is a fine line between you wanting to share and you feeling like you have to share.
Yeah.
And I feel that there's become a bit more necessity to have to share, to prove, rather than to do because you're called to do that. So that's why I want to go back to the roots and just feel that freedom of being just called to share. Like that, there's a calling for me right now to just do what my body is saying, you know, rather than feeling like, okay, right, well, I think I'm next in the line, so I have to like go into the circle and do a throwdown, and it's got to be really tight, and I've got to do something different to the. Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't want to be thinking like that. I'm a very heady person as it is, and so I said I want to break down those thought processes, so that I am doing it not because I have to, but because I want to.
It'd be nice to like break into that or step into that a little bit of like what is that pressure? Like, you know, I know for me there's the pressure of doing well. There's the pressure of like the financial pressure of trying to get the next job, or, you know, that often you have to fill in the application form before you've made the piece of work to prove that the piece of work will be good. So then you've got to live up to what you said on the form. So this kind of like it's almost like we have a little bit of a structure, a little bit of a holding of how we're going to create work and how we're going to do our throwdown. So is it that you mean, or is it more around kind of like this breaking out of this kind of decolonizing of our thinking in the West, and this kind of ideas around how you need to be good, or to be successful, or to be...
I think they both work quite simultaneously with each other in a way, because in our capitalist society that we're working through right now, we're constantly having to feel like we have to do more to do better so that our career can progress, you know, because there is always somebody else chasing your tail essentially to get that job, because the pool is, I mean, there's a plethora of amazing performances, but there is, I feel we're also kind of tunneled into like, okay, we're all here, but then we all have to try and fit through this one hole to get to the vast next stage. And it's like, well, only one person can go through it at a time. And it's, you know, it kind of, so you have that kind of pressure to, I have to keep progressing. I have to do better. I have to be on my top game. And I personally have that pressure on myself a lot. And it's even really present at the moment, how much pressure and how much judgment I actually do have on myself. And I think as performers, we have that because it's not a conventional way of making a living. It's the slightly alternative way that there is a lot of unknown circumstances that can come into play, or situations that can happen, because we never know our complete future. We're kind of making it up as we go along. So I feel like because of that choice to step into, I guess, that level of uncertainty and instability, for me, my experience is personally having to feel like because of that, I have to make sure that I'm not falling into the wayside. I am trying to keep progressing. I am trying to go forward and just that the choice was not made in vain, and the choice hasn't, it was a good choice. You want the choice to come good, essentially. So I think there's that side. And just remind me the other side that you were saying.
So there was the pressure to do well, kind of the society pressure to do well. I think you answered it, Azara, actually. It feels like you answered it, but what you made me think of is this thing around like responsibility, like how we feel a responsibility. You know, if we have the opportunity, we want to make the most of that opportunity. And because there is this, like you said, there's such a pool of artists, we want to make sure that we're kind of helping people maybe with the work that we make, or we are definitely the person that deserves the job, so we don't want to kind of like not use it to the best of its ability. And then there's, I wonder, this is maybe how I'm a question I'm thinking about a lot at the moment, is like, is it a privilege to just be able to make work and just shine, you know, like what you talked about, just doing it just for the love of art rather than to make change or like to contribute something to the world, like, or is it even just a privilege to not have to think about all of the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment, that it is hard not to be constantly reflecting back in our art what we're seeing in the world and the changes that we want to see. So do you have anything to add to that, kind of how you make art, and whether it's from just a place of being free or what goes into the art that you make? I don't know if I just completely threw it off in a different direction, but we'll see what happens.
I think, you know, I think there is layers. So the first layer that comes to me is, you know, the layer of people not being able to, well, the people who are making art just for art's sake, that is a huge privilege. And the people who are making art with a meaning or political message behind it, like myself, I feel is coming from a place of struggle and or oppression to some degree, whereas the people with privilege may not be feeling that. Hence why their art is free. Their art may not have any context at all, because it, you know, because I guess art is an expression, it's an extension, an expression of yourself. That's my kind of one of my definitions, you know. And that's how I choose to convey my art. So my art will have politics with it, because I do have there are struggles, discriminations, injustices, prejudices that I do feel just by being me. So through my art, you are going to see that, because you're going to see a reflection of me. To whatever degree that is, it will vary from piece to piece, but you are still going to see some element of politics and basically the lack of privilege and freedom I have with that. Because even to get to a point to express my art, I have to explain that I'm not at a privilege. I have to showcase that I am at a disadvantage to the next person for my work to even be showcased. So, you know, it's like how, you know, it's bizarre. And, you know, eventually I will get to a stage where I will just be making my art, and I won't have to say, you know, I won't have to do a equalities form to make sure that they're making sure that they're being diverse on their team, you know, because it will be my stuff, you know. And that's kind of, I think that's the privilege that I guess people like myself, who can't just make work and it mean nothing but makes them feel happy, you know. It doesn't have to be heavy or weighted with and layered with, you know, catharsis or trauma, you know. I think the privilege that will happen for us is when we can just be the dictator and the receiver of whatever we choose to put out there. because the people, I guess, in a way, who are making art without nothing, you know, just going, oh yeah, I'm going to draw a sunflower. Okay, so that's really layered, isn't it? And go, oh yeah, that makes me feel happy, you know. I just wanted to draw a sunflower, and someone goes, that's amazing. I will take that sunflower. Like, I will draw a sunflower, and I've got to say why each petal is a representation of my discriminations and injustices that I've had all through my life. And, you know, because of my skin color, and it's like, oh yes, now that's a really textured, layered flower that we want to share because your voice is valued. And it's like, well, I would have just liked to draw a sunflower, not have to say that that's what it is, but you know,
Yeah.
you know, and it's hard. I think we're on a journey there, but yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. Like we're journeying, should I say? We're journeying right now to a place where that will hopefully be available and accessible. That privilege to just do and create for the next generation.
Yeah.
And the generation after that. And I think it's about showcasing right now and connecting heavily. And as myself, as a performer and artist and creator and creative, I want to connect more with the next generation so that they can understand their journey in our artist journey, but in the journey of the world, because there's so many levels. You know, the world is a creative world, and I think they need to be reminded of that, because easily and so quickly are they getting sucked into this capitalist way of life, very small aspirations, you know, because it's very much about reality and can I do this quickly and then I'll get famous quickly and then I'll have loads of money. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There is no, you know, the fruitfulness of understanding something, wanting to share it because of what that impact does is getting lost, because everything on TV, on the media looks so glamorous. Like, you know, people on Instagram who just get thousands of likes. It seems easy. So they're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I just want to go like...
Yeah.
You know, and it is hard. Like, I have 14 nieces and nephews, and I'm constantly on them, like, you know, trying to get them to understand Love Island is not the way forward. Do you know what I mean? They like dancing, they like singing. Go, okay, so keep writing some poetry. Go and write me something. You know, draw me a picture. Like, you know, those little things. And I think what's been great is this lockdown has forced a little bit more of those old school method and ways of connecting with what the mind wants, what the body wants, and how to express yourself, because you can't really express yourself anymore on social media like how you wanted to when you were just like at school and then you came home. Like, you have to write down some things now. Let's play a board game. Let's, you know, interact. Let's build those community elements. You know, you're talking to people more, dancing with people more. Like Candy, you know, was my mum's little workout, you know, throughout this little time we were doing Candy.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, the electric slide, you know what I mean? Hey, rock forward and back. Hey,
I want to come to your house for a workout. It sounds wicked.
Yeah, it's good, and I'm hoping that, you know, the next generation will have a bit more freedom and to just create.
Yeah. So time is somehow flying with you, Azara. This always seems to happen. So I do want to ask you two questions. But I wanted to, like, it just feels like we're kind of talking about social media, and that's the first time we've really talked about social media in any of these interviews. So it'd be really interesting to talk about that just a little bit in terms of, like, So, for example, this morning I watched Alessandro Ocasio-Cortez taking out Ted Yoho in the Congress, and he called her an effing bee to basically try and belittle her, you know, as a woman. And it's really exciting for me to see someone she's 30 and she's there, and you know, man, if she could become the president. But like she's so articulate. She's someone who's young, who's turning it around. She's not afraid to talk about her life experience, and that she doesn't come from a privileged background like the majority of those kind of white male cis males at the top. That she actually has a very, very different like upbringing and life experience, but that I feel like she's really connecting to young people, and a lot of it is through social media. Like I follow her on Instagram because she makes me cry on a regular of like, there is hope. You know, she represents someone who really wants change, and who is like, you know, we were talking about these barriers in terms of our thinking. Like she does not care. She is going for it. Like she is just like blasting through those kind of glass ceilings that we experience. You know, she really makes me go like, wow, the things that she can do that. There's more that I can do than what I'm doing right now. So it'd be really nice to talk about like social media and how it has been positive, or if you feel there are any positives in this world that we live in now. For example, like the Black Lives Matter movement, I feel, you know, there's been a few conversations about whether, for example, the Blackout Tuesday was a good thing. But what I do feel is that there's this connecting across the globe that's happening, and this way that we can educate people that is inspiring, or is positive, or, you know, there's potential, or there's hope in it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, on social media for political change or for waking up.
Yeah, the thing is, I think social media is great because it's helped connect us in ways with the world, in ways that we, you know, could never have imagined. I don't know what, 50 years ago, if not less, or more. But I think what, you know, it's even for me in this, it's the, because I'm not heavily on social media. I find it quite daunting at times. You know, I feel like I have to do it for the new evolution of PR and promoting yourself.
Yeah.
But it's still not something that is
a full-time job sometimes.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't appeal to me. I've never been, and I think that's because it's very. I guess I'm on Instagram and Facebook. It's very like, you know, you have to put yourself out there, and I like to do that through my work, which I guess is in a way my controlled vulnerability. Whereas, you know, to be like, so today, and this is something that I'm open to expanding, but I think you know, that level of sharing is great, but it's becoming tricky because it's being controlled. You know, like I don't really know this person that you're talking about hasn't come into my sphere yet. That's the sort of energy that I would have had in my sphere, you know, like, and it's so it's great that she's out there and now I can go and search her because you've told me, but that's not through social media. Do you know what I mean? That's because we've had a discussion.
Yeah.
You know, and so now I can actively go and find that person on social media and bring that into my sphere. But that's the problem right now. We can't, there is no, you know, you're getting fed what they want to feed you, essentially. And that for me is tricky because, you know, if I want to, you know, you just have to be very conscious and be very specific, I think, when it comes to the social media. You have to really tailor your feeds and your connections so that you are bringing in the right energy and the right information into your space, because there are people who are so strong out there doing, big changes and wanting big changes. This person, this Republican, telling her to, calling her names, is the sort of person that is blocking up our feeds. Do you know what I mean? Is disconnecting me from connecting with her, because there's another capitalist agenda, or there is, something with Donald Trump. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about him. I don't want to know about him. If I want to see something on the news, show me her. I'm not seeing her. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's great. So I think the positive thing I will say about social media is it's opened up a canvas for you to be able to connect with the right things that you want to connect with, and learn and build your knowledge on the right things. It's just making sure that you are being specific, you are looking out there and tailoring it for you so that you create the right bubble, because these bubbles get very much infected and become kind of quite delusional, because they're kind of on the essence of something else. And it's so I think it's a great thing, but you've just got to make it a great thing for you and make sure it's not feeding certain, discriminations or prejudices or theories or stories that don't resonate with you. I think it's all about you feeding yourself and connecting, because then what it's done, it's connected us with the world so that we can know what is right for us and what our mission is, to help us tailor that to help the rest of the world. But just know that the social media is also a part of their agenda to feed us with the things that they don't want us to grow with, We're here to grow as artists. We've always been here to grow for change.
So on that note, let's hear about you as an artist, Azara. So we've got 5 minutes exactly. You talked about like controlled vulnerability, but for me, like, I've seen you be so vulnerable on stage. I've cried in your shows, I've cried on stage with you as well. But so it's not just that, not just your vulnerability, but it'd be really cool to hear a bit about you as an artist, like what you're doing next. I know that you're really passionate about film, and I know you're doing some stuff with film. Like, what is your art? How would you describe kind of like what you're doing, where you're going, where you want to see in terms of the art that you want to make next? And if you could just do that all in 5 minutes.
Okay, so I mean, I like to share myself. I like to tell stories about myself, and I think it's really exciting, because everybody has such exciting stories to tell. We all have jokes, because even if you're going down to the shop, you're just gonna be like, "Hey, I went down to the shop, and then this person, they was just like, what?" And you're like, "What?" And and you just have those little stories. Those things are nuggets of gold for me, and we all have those moments in our life, like, is this a movie? Am I in a movie? Like, someone is going to shut the back of the like, I always think like the Truman Show.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Someone's going to shut the back of the lift quickly, and I'm going to catch them. It's all those things. You're kind of like, wait, okay. Why is that person just driving past and smiling at me? Does he know that he's watching me? Or it's just weird. Yeah. So, I think we all have little nuggets that we can share constantly. And so I feel, as my journey and as my life, my experiences, I just want to share them,
You're such a good storyteller as well. So like, even that story of the shop, I was like, oh, I don't know what happened next.
I mean, there was no story. There was no story. I'm sorry, Ella. But it's little things like that. And that's what I want to share, because, I'm still learning. And I think that also is what I want to share, is the human part of it. Like, we're constantly going through change, whether we like it or not. And we're not perfect. So You know, there's stories that I've told previously in my work that I've looked back at it now and going, yeah, I probably won't share that again, you know, because it was truthful at the time, but now it doesn't resonate with me, and I don't think it will resonate with the world, you know. So I'll just leave that one on the shelf. But at the time, it was necessary. At the time, it was powerful, and it still has power, but just in a different way. And I think it's okay to be able to go, that was okay then, and that was okay now. And I guess now as well, with my own stories, it was also connected to creating a space for myself in the industry that I wanted to work in. Because with my difference to the aesthetic or the generic idea of what a woman is, when I was going for acting auditions, I wouldn't get cast. And that could have been connected to my inexperience as an actress, maybe for auditions. I will, you know, I'm being diplomatic here, yeah, because everybody has a role to play, you know. So I'm not going to just say, oh, they didn't want me, you know, because I also didn't go to classes. Not that I need to go to classes, but do you know what I mean? I could have gone to classes if I wanted to, but anyway, I think it was more about the aesthetic that was desired as the role. Because the thing is, you don't have to do much. If you look good, the director is going to do what they need to do to get you to do what you need to do. You know, so I didn't feel they had an aesthetic. They didn't have a role, a character that would allow me to play that aesthetic. They and connected and I guess looking down the line of all the, say, 5 black women that they've got going for the same one role, they wanted somebody who had short hair but wore lipsticks and glass and had eyelashes done and a full face of makeup. And do you know what I mean? I'm going to be fresh faced, you know. I'm going to be just like this and going, hey, is this what you want? Thank you. Thank you. So that's how I would be. I would be myself, and I didn't think that was causing too much confusion for me. As how do I portray myself? How do I, you know, put myself out there? And I didn't like that, because I was like, well, I'm happy how I am. It's only when I go to auditions or try to, you know, fit into their requirements or understand what their requirements are, because I was so confused every time, that I would just go, okay, I'm done with this, you know. And now, looking at TV now, if I was to go on an agency, I probably would get a bit more stuff, because the TV is adapting more, where you're seeing a lot more women, short hair, more of a boyish vibe, you know, just a bit more queer women on TV. You're seeing those characters on TV. And so I think with that, I would do, but for me, I'm not trying to sell myself out into that space. I'm kind of going, I want to create my own space. So again, talking about TV, I am getting more into making my own films and writing. Currently writing a screenplay. It'll be my first feature film. So it's like, ooh, never written a screenplay in my life. Well, actually, I've written a little one, but it's like nothing's been published. You know, this is all new to me. But the story is a story. It's my story. And it's connected to me. So I think just being a writer, that allows me some kind of freedom to do that. And so I guess that's me. I just want to kind of share me. That's really who I am. I just want to share me on all different platforms, live, film, you know, maybe radio one day, who knows? But as long as I get to be me, then I'm happy.
Yes. Maybe mine and Alma's podcast.
Who? Say that again?
Me and Alma have a podcast coming out. We would love to have you on our podcast.
I would love to be on it. Let's do it. And I'm going to sing. I'm going to be like, ah. No.
Yes, Azara. Awesome. So, you know, we've seen Azara in I'm a Woman. I loved your contribution there, and even like how well you worked with that bit of music. But Azara is worth checking out. Her shows, her touring work, and then now moving into film. So all of her stuff is down there. Follow her. Is there anything else you want to say to the people, a message for the people watching you right now, Azara?
Keep doing what you're doing, okay? Keep creating, keep. Exactly. Keep just sharing love, you know, doing what you're doing with love for yourself and for others, you know. Try to really harness self-care. It's not that easy. I'm working on it myself. It's not that easy, but keep trying to harness it because you are the main focus. Your creativity cannot work without you. Yeah, you have to be the cheerleader for yourself and for your creativity because you know it is powerful and the world wants it to be powerful and you know it needs to be shared. So just keep doing what you're doing and stay positive.
We love you. Thank you so much, Azara.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ella.
Thank you.